And we were invited one Sunday to a wedding, or not Sunday, Saturday to a wedding. A good friend of mine was getting married at St. Andrew on George Avenue. And there was Mark, and he was marrying one of my best friends I've known since third grade. And in that half hour, 45 minutes, I mean, I'd never met him, I'd never been in that church, and I just could relate to everything he had said. And it was just amazing to me. So I filled out my little form. Barbara Walbring called me back, the following week, and Barbara and I, over the next 2 years, just became friends. And that was the other thing I really liked about it. I would go periodically. I'd take my daughter, and she was just wonderful. She was very welcoming. She was listening to my story. I was on a very different part of my journey as far as finding religion in my life. I knew I wanted it to be a part of my life, but I just wasn't sure where I was on that part of my journey. And she kept telling me, let's pray about it, look for signs. And I was never a big sign believer. I mean, I'd always heard, oh yeah, there's signs from God. And I thought, well, that's not going to happen to me. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what it was that was going to take, what it was going to take for me to say, yes, I need to join the church. So I met Barbara one day, about 2 years later after I'd met her. We met for coffee one day. And it was to this day, it's a very chilling experience for me. I was going to Guatemala. I was getting ready to go to Guatemala for a vacation with my husband and my daughter. And Barbara's, we met for coffee, and she says, hey, I have a neighbor of mine who, his daughter started a mission out there, and she gives me his name, and she tells me this, and I'm thinking, wow, this person does amazing things out there. That was it. That was all that was said about it. I go to Guatemala with my family. One of the days we were there for a week. One of the days we decided to take a trip out to this volcano, out in the middle, literally of nowhere, about 2 hours away from where we were staying. And to make a long story short, we ran into Barb's neighbor in the middle of Guatemala, in this little town, in the volcano, next to this volcano, next to this lake. And it was by total coincidence, was my initial thought. But then I thought, this is a sign. If there's never been a sign, this was a sign. It was like a knock on my head. I'd never felt it. It was so strong. And the whole way home, I remember I was looking at Bruce. I was practically in tears because I was like, what do I do with this? And I came home, I called Barb, and I was like, I want to join the church. I said, this was my sign. And now I'm crying, and that's going to get a little...
We joined the church and went to the ceremony and became members of this congregation. And it was impactful. We went on a fairly regular basis to the old church, and we heard Pastor talking on a regular basis about the construction of this new church, which actually is close to our house. And we thought, well, that would be pretty neat if they built a church close to our house. And really didn't think that much about it. And as it got closer through the end of 2007 and early 2008, we said, well, this is really coming. We could see the church coming out of the ground, and we looked and said, my goodness, this is an incredible church home that's being built. So we went to the opening of church here on New Hampshire Avenue in March of 2008. I'll never forget, it was very impactful for me to walk out of the service after the first service and meet Pastor Rico. And I turned to Pastor and said, Pastor, you have a wonderful church. This is a wonderful church home. And he looked back to me and said, Bruce, this is your church home. And that was very impactful for me.
And I knew it was the place for me when I met Miss Quayle. And she said, where are you from? And I said, I'm from New Orleans. She said, what church did you go to in New Orleans? I said, I went to Trinity Lutheran Church. She says, my sister goes to that church. I said, my mother's name is Rosemary. She says, I know your mother. And I knew I was at the right place. So that's what brought me here and kept me here. And and I think over that time, what I found out about St. Andrews is that I learned a lot here. I learned most of my spiritual knowledge while I was here. And I think one of the main things I learned, and I learned it from you, was what love means. And I even did a speech about it in Toastmasters a few weeks ago, and I knew about the different types of love, and that love that the last one I talked about was the love of action, the action form of the word. And I learned that from you because I thought about feelings and emotions, but I learned from you the action part of it. And in my opinion, that action form of love was shown by St. Andrews when we had Hurricane Katrina. And at that time, I got a call from my brother telling me that, Murray, there's 4 feet of water in front of my house. The next morning, I could see everyone was all over the country. And I had my brother and his family, which was about 13 people, who said, we're in Texas, we're driving, we can't find a hotel. I said, I got my credit card, I got airline tickets for you. Get to Houston, get on the plane, come up here. But when we got up here, I didn't know what to do at that point with 13 people in my house, not knowing what to do. And Angela made a phone call. I didn't even know who she called. And I think that next day, I got a knock at the door with food for enough for 20 more people. And it was Stan Jackson, I believe. And from that moment, every day for lunch and dinner, we had enough food for 20 or more people. So we didn't have to cook. We didn't have to worry about our living conditions. We got clothing. We got detergent. We had almost everything that we needed. So by having those material things provided to us, we were able to concentrate on the emotional health of the people who we had with us.
Because our daughter is now, she started in kindergarten, but now she's getting ready to go into confirmation next year. So, I every time I go downstairs and I see that space for the kids, for the confirmation kids, I think this is such a huge benefit she's going to get for the next X number of years here. And she's real excited about it too. When she sees it, she's like, wow, we're going to have all this space. I'm like, yeah, you are, So she's gone from the little room she used to use over in Kid Central at George Avenue to the nicer rooms over here, but now she's going to go to this beautiful space downstairs, and it's going to be a real home for her now also, I think. So we're really looking forward to that. So that's all part of it for us.
I like to tell people we don't own a second home. This is our second home, the church home here at St. Andrew, and we're real pleased. When I think about the financial side of the church, I didn't know anything about the involvement of the financial. Nobody had ever asked me about the financial side and what it took, and all the money that the people who had built this church for many years had invested in this congregation. After that opening service in March of 2008, we made the decision as a family to participate in the Continue the Journey campaign, because we felt we want to be part of this, the growth of this church, and support the church financially as well in its mission. We're very happy that we did that, and we're also very happy to support Firm Foundations with all the great ministries and things that are going on here at St. Andrew. So it's really a pleasurable part of our lives, and something that we feel very strongly about.
Well, we were driving down New Hampshire Avenue numerous times headed to Silver Spring, and just on the daily routines, and saw the construction going on here, and saw it was going to be a Lutheran church. And that sparked our curiosity, so we decided once it was finished, and we were probably delayed a little bit longer than we should have, but we came in and to see what was going on. And it was, I don't know whether it was that first service or it was a service there, one of the first couple of times we came, you made the statement that you're not here by accident. People have been praying for you here. People have been preparing for you here. People have been preparing this place for you to come. And we felt that. We felt the love, and we felt the caring, we felt the understanding that was here. And it drew us in to here. And our kids have benefited tremendously from the programs and everything offered here. The lay leadership here is phenomenal. The preaching's okay. And it's because of that, the great benefits and everything that we've received here and we've felt here, we're anxious to be able to have the opportunity to pay that back, or to give somebody else that same opportunity to come and to grow as we have. And obviously this doesn't happen without sacrifice, and we're sincerely appreciative of the sacrifice that was done to allow us the space to come here. Now it's our turn to step up and make the commitment to make something that somebody else can benefit from.
You know, I like to tell people we don't own a second home. This is our second home, the church home here at St. Andrew.
Our family's really found a home here. Our oldest son, who has just gone off to school, and it's largely because of our involvement here that he's now going to Concordia, the Lutheran school in Wisconsin.
I learned from Elroy, it's been a real good help for me. He says, Murray, you can't produce fruit. You have to let the Lord produce the fruit in you, and you just let it flow through you. And I think when I heard him say that, I was able to not worry so much about what I'm producing. I was more concerned about being in the right spirit to let the word come through me.